Okay. Welcome back to the Dreamaker podcast. I'm glad you're here. Yeah. Happy to see you. Happy to be here. Been an amazing day. Nice outside. Which is always good. You know what I mean? You need to go outside as an entrepreneur. You can't be stuck inside your crib as an entrepreneur, right? Today I had a good day. I went outside. I got some fresh air. Went, chill, parlayed. It was good. It's very good. The weather is crazy because like I went outside. I'm like, yes, the weather is right. It's spring. I'm like, oh man, it feels mad good. I still need a long sleeve, but I'm like, nah, I'm going out there. And I went out there. It was dope. It was a good day. But now, I have to come back and lock in with y'all. Address my wolf pack. You heard? So, here's what's going on. I think the last time or one of the times I spoke to you about being a lone wolf, right? Oh, hold on. I forgot to amplify this. These are the things that make your podcast a little different right there. You see that right there? Yeah. A lot of times y'all wouldn't, you wouldn't notice that, but you're going to notice that today, though. You're going to notice that today. Those are little things that, see, I'm giving you some sauce. Actually, let me amplify what I'm talking about here because, I always tell people it's the small little things that make your huge situation look good. You know what I mean? All right. Now we got our feel like. Right? So, if you want to shoot your own podcast and you want your podcast to look like this and you like the way this podcast looks, come do it here. Book it. I'll make you look good, baby. I'll make you look good. Trust me. I'll make you look good, baby. I'll make you look good. So, back to this. I think, what we spoke about. We spoke about being a lone wolf, and I'm gonna pick back up off of that, and because it's phases to this, right? And before we touch technicals and all that extra stuff, and I dive deeper, it is the principal things that you need to understand. The principal things are important. Case in point, when you're a lone wolf, right? The next phase is to grow into building, right? Building your team. And when you have your team, you got to take care of your team. You know what I'm saying? You got to know what that looks like. You got to know what taking care of your team looks like, right? When you have your team, it's your job as an alpha wolf, right? Because you're going from a lone wolf to an alpha wolf now. You got to take care of your team. Your team, right? You got to know when you get people around you, and they're going to be leaders in their own right. They're going to live in their own right. They're going to have businesses that they want to do. The people that become a part of your team very early on, they're going to have dreams and aspirations of things that they want to do, right? And they're going to want to do it. And you got to respect that. But if you guys are sticking together and building that team, and you the HNIC, you the leader in your team, right? You got to consider everything about your team. It's your job to protect your team, right? There's a lot of outside forces that's going to come in and try to mess up what you got going on, right? So it's your job to protect your team. That's an alpha mindset, alpha wolf mindset. What does protecting your team look like? I'll give you an example. A lot of these teams, I'm a firm believer in diversity when it comes to your team. Your team should be diverse, right? And when I say diversity, it doesn't necessarily have to mean a racial diversity, but they need to be a diverse set of people, right? And when you're building a team and you have a diverse team, you got to protect everyone's interests, right? How do you protect them, right? I'll give you an example because I'm rolling into this. Work with me here. You got a lady in your team, right? you got a lady on your team. Let's say you a plumber, right? Right? You got a lady on your team, right? And, no disrespect to the ladies, because, we got female alpha wolves as well. Shout out to my she-wolves. Shout out to all the she-wolves out here doing business. Shout out to all the ladies doing business, right? We need to get that into the mix. You know what I'm saying? Ladies in business and entrepreneurship, shout out to y'all, right? A lot of these businesses, the backbone is a woman. Trust me. Even the alpha wolf. A lot of these alpha wolves is front like they do it on their own, but behind scenes, it be they women that be holding it down, that be making sure they back good. You know what I'm saying? Because they protect them. But let's say you a plumber, and you got a female, right? And she's a plumber. You the lead plumber. She's a plumber on the team as well. But no offense to the females, I always say this, because I run into this too. You know what I mean? As an engineer, technical engineer. So females tend not to have the strength in their hands like that to do certain tasks that a male does, right? Case in point, why we don't got, cross-gender boxing. We don't have females boxing men. We don't want unfair advantages, right? We're trying to be fair. That has nothing to do with respect or disrespect. We just want to be fair. So a lot of times females tend not to have the strength in their hands, right? So when it comes to tightening certain things as a plumber, they're not going to get it as tight sometimes. It's just not going to happen. So now what do? Right? You got to protect her. You got to protect that plumber that's on your job. You got to make sure she could figure out how to tighten whatever lock or whatever it is the right way. Whatever pipe that's there, you got to figure that out. And then what you do now, to protect her, you develop techniques for her that's going to work for her. Case in point. When you have a diverse team, whether it be females, males, whoever's on the team, you got to protect them, right? You don't want nobody in your team to look incompetent. You don't want nobody in your team to be taken advantage of, right? Although you're a leader, and the most important skill as a leader is being a listener, right? These will never fail you, right? You listen, you pay attention. As a wolf, right? One thing you're going to learn is communication. Communication is key. A lot of you heard that before. Oh, communication is key. We got to communicate. Oh my God. We got to communicate. You hear that all the time, right? But as a wolf, you know how a wolf communicates? Tell you how a wolf communicates. Because I'm a wolf, right? Yes, I communicate. I go up on the mountain, right? On a full moon. Because everything got to be on point when you're communicating. I go up on the mountain on a full moon and I howl. And I go, oh! I make a howl, right? I make sure it's a full moon. I make sure it's nighttime. And I make sure I'm by myself when I'm howling, right? Communication has to be exact. It has to be clear. It has to be on point. So a lot of times, people fail in communication because they're not clear. They're not on point. They're not sharp. They're not clear with their message, right? So when people complain about communication, it's not that they're not communicating. It's just that their messages are not clear. They're not being clear on their messages, right? You need to communicate like a wolf. When a wolf communicates, it is exact. When he goes up there on the full moon at night by himself and he howls, the whole pack hears it. And nobody can say they ain't hear it. The whole pack hears it. And it's clear and precise. So he in business. When you bring in business and you get your wolf pack, communication is key. But it's how you communicate. Communicate clearly, communicate effectively, and ask did everyone understand what I just said? Did you understand what I just said? Did you understand what I just said? That's how you got to do it. You need to be extremely clear. There's no room for error there. Communication is key, yes, but it's how you communicate. How you communicate is the key, right? So when you're in your pack and now you the alpha wolf, right? And you got everybody on deck and you protecting everybody and you communicating effectively, there's other things you got to be careful of. There are other things you got to be careful of. Communication is key, but it's not the only key. There's plenty of the keys that open doors, right? There's plenty of the keys that open doors. Case in point. You got your team. You're protecting your team. You building, right? But you got to lead by example. You have to. I know a lot of you people heard that as well, right? But I'm going to give you a little twist, right? I'm going to give you a little twist. Because a lot of times you hear these sayings and you're like, oh, I understand it. No, you probably don't. You probably think you do, but you never probably sat down and really fully understood it, right? So when we're talking about communication and when we talk about all of these things, you think you know these things until I break them apart for you. As an alpha wolf, we got to do that. So, not to go where I left off. So we talk about protecting, we talk about communicating, we talk about the alpha wolf mindset, right? We saying there's more things that are involved. It's not just a 1, 2, 3 thing. When you have your team and you're protecting them, there's other things you got to be careful of. You got to lead by example. How does that look? Right? So, case in point, when you was in that lone wolf phase and you mastered everything, for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, the lone wolf phase, go watch a podcast that says lone wolf, because you're going to get lost real quick if you don't watch that. Right? That's the first phase, the lone wolf phase. Back to this one. So now, when you in the lone wolf phase, right? One of the things you master is you become dangerously competent. As a lone wolf, I am dangerously competent, right? Not incompetent, dangerously competent, right? Not arrogant, but competent. I'm efficient in everything in my field. I don't need outside sources to help me. If you want to help me, pay me. That's how you help me. If you want to help me, give me money. And in return, I give you service. That's how you help me. That's how you support me. Or collaborate. Still money somehow tied involved. If you want to do a paid collaboration, come do it here. I'm all for that. I'll throw up the bread. You got to throw up the bread too, though. But you got to lead by example, right? So when you get a team and they're on your team, right? They're looking towards you as a leader. And leading by example, for example, you're an editor. You know how to edit, you know how to shoot, you know how to do all these things. You get somebody on your team, and now you got to delegate that work, right? You got to be like, yo, this is how you do it. This is how you edit. Flip this here, move this here, whatever software, whether you use DaVinci Pro, Premiere, whatever the case is, this is how you do it. And then you teach them, you demonstrate to them, right? But it gets a little bit further. Because as an alpha wolf, right, you're going to have people in your pack that question your competency. That's why it's important to always stay sharp. Always stay sharp. Because although you've led by example, that title of alpha wolf, it really shows itself when you solve problems, right? As an alpha wolf, as an entrepreneur in business, you need to know how to solve problems. You need to get very comfortable with math. It's sad. We're not comfortable with math, but you need to get very comfortable with math. Math isn't always 1 + 2 = 3, 2 to the x squared. It's not always that. So don't get yourself in a bunch. Logic is math. You need to be logical. You need to know how to read. Reading is a part of math. You need to read It's a logical thing to do, right? You need to read, you need to know math, you need to know English, the basics, right? And then after you know the basics, you need to know how to implement them in your business. How does that look, right? I'm gonna give you some sauce. Communication is 85% nonverbal. 85% nonverbal. Meaning, when I come in the room and I look around, I can read everybody's energy, and based on what I read, I can decide who to go to and who not to go to. 85% nonverbal. So that means you need to read someone's body language. All of that is patterns and behaviors. That's all that is. Now, if you want to know how to do that, because you're part of the wolf pack, come do a consultation. I'll show you how to read patterns and behaviors. You know what I'm saying? I'll show you how to read patterns and behaviors. For you she-wolves, that applies as well. And with all due respect, I respect my she-wolves, but I'm not going to lie with you. You guys tend to have a little bit harder. My she-wolf, my female entrepreneurs, you tend to have a little bit harder because there will be men in this field that act like hyenas and act like little greedy lions, right? And all they want to do is touch you. That's all they want. You experience this all the time. I had to speak to multiple people, multiple females in this field to learn that, right? They want to do business and they want to do good business, right? But it's sad to say there's men in this field that just objectify you. And these are the battles that they go through, my she-wolf go through, and y'all don't know, man. Y'all don't know about these battles. You know how much female artists, right, want to have their music mastered, but every time they go to the engineer is making a pass, and it's like, yo, that's not what I came for. I really came just for my music. You think a female wants to deal with that all the time? Hell no. You as an alpha wolf, you gotta protect them, son. You gotta protect the females, bro. You gotta protect anybody in your pack. And if they not in your pack, pack them up, son. Pack them up. So, before I lose my train of thought, you have to be a problem solver, right? When you are a problem solver, you will gain high levels of respect, extremely high levels of respect, because you're displaying competency in real time. You display your competency in real time. As an engineer, I'm a problem solver. I solve problems every day. Big problems, small problems, little problems, medium problems. I solve problems every day. So my brain is wired every day to solve. And if you're going to do business and you're going to be an entrepreneur, your brain got to be wired the same way. You need to know how to solve problems. You're going to get into mad problems in your business. And if you cannot solve them, pack you up. Business said and done. You're going to get into multiple roadblocks. You're going to get into multiple roadblocks in your business, and you're going to get stuck. And if you can't find workarounds and solve those problems, your business is dead in the water. Most of you, unfortunately, you run into roadblocks, you get stuck, and then you stop your business. Let's just keep it a buck. That's what happens. Most of you like the idea of business, but don't understand how much work goes into it. There's a large portion of you that just want to do business. You want the money, but you don't want to do the work. Doesn't work like that. You gotta put in that pain. Gotta put in that pain. You get what I'm saying? I could say I put in that pain. I put in that pain mad times. Putting that pain. I'm still putting in that pain. Right? I'll say this. You should be able to tell I'm putting in that pain. Remember, 85% nonverbal. So when you see the wolf go up there, he's a nonverbal animal. He cannot speak. He just howls. Ooh, that's all he do. Howl, growl. He has very few things that he uses to communicate. He has very few things he uses to communicate. And he does it and he communicates effectively because he works in a pack and he has no problems. Think about that. That wolf got no problems. No problems. Right? So learn how to solve problems. Small problem, big problem, whatever it is. My little team I started, I solve problems. My phone ring, it's a problem, I'm solving it. As an alpha wolf, that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to solve problems, right? If you got a family, you need to know how to solve problems, right? If you're a leader in your family, you need to learn how to solve problems because people are going to rely on you to do what? Solve problems. This is a mindset you have to develop. I'm taking you from boys and girls to men. And if you want to stay in the boys and girls phase, that's fine. Just not here. Now in this squad. We're not doing that over here. I tell you that right now. Right? Boys and girls are welcome, right? But you're going to be boys and girls. And I expect you to act and conduct yourself in such manner. Right? When you step up to be a man, I expect you to act and conduct yourself in such manner as well. Right? So, there's a couple things I want to touch bases with.
I'll be back. This is not a dream. This is the Dreamaker podcast.
The weight. So when you are, I'm going to give y'all a little story. Because remember I told you I'm an engineer. I'm listed as an engineer. If you look on Indeed, you'll see I'm there. You can see my work history and everything that I've done, all the companies I've worked for, you know what I mean, as a technical engineer, as an engineer, period. Right? I could speak on this to an extent because I did sign an NDA, but I could speak on this. I want y'all to listen up. I did consultation for a Fortune 500 company, and I consulted the CEO. Little old me paid me for consultation through LinkedIn, right? What did that consultation look like, right? Because I'm just an engineer. Yeah, I had leadership roles, but I'm just an engineer. I mean, my job as an engineer is just to fix things, right? But here comes this Fortune CEO company, the Fortune 500 company, and the CEO wants to sit with me for 2 hours, paid, by the way, right, for consultation. So you know what your boy did? I took that bread. I took that bread. And after I took the bread, what I realized is this. Most of these big firms, most of these big companies, because this guy was smart with what he did. I must say that. The gentleman who reached out to me, he was extremely intelligent in his approach to even reaching out to me. Because typically what happens in big business, right, what they do is they reach out to a larger consulting company, right? Now that larger consulting company, you know what they do? Here's what they do. They bring their entire staff. They speak to the heads of each department. If it's departmentalized like that, if it's set up in departments, like it's a smaller company where it's set up as a department. If they don't do that, they go speak to the chiefs. So that's your chief officer, chief marketing, chief of financials, chief SEO. They speak to all these people, right? Right? They take their concerns and their issues that they're having, right? And then you know what they do? They turn around and they say, okay. They go to the very first, they go to the front line part of the business. For those who don't know who the front line is, I'll break it down for you in a much simpler term. Let's say we're talking about a company like Target, right? So what they would do, they would go to the chiefs, they would speak to the chiefs, right? Officers, chief FCO, chief marketer, chief finances, chief CEO. They'll speak to all these executives, right? They'll speak to all these people, right? And then they go to the front line. You know what the front line is? That's the target employees, like the actual customer. So not the actual customer, the actual target employee. So they go to the actual target employee And then they ask them questions and they follow them around. And then they look around the business. You believe that? That's what they do. That's what these big consulting agencies do. Because if there's one thing they understand, right? When it comes to a business, your front line is your life support of the business. Meaning your frontline employee, that is your life support of the business. If there's anybody you're going to take care of, it's the employee. You take care of the employee first. And this is why, right, as an alpha wolf, this is why I have a problem when people SHIT on people that go to work. And that's why I have a huge problem for that. Because you could be the CEO for that company, and you too busy shitting on the employee when the employee knows your operation better than you do. Better than you do. These big consulting agencies, they don't go anywhere in the middle. They go directly to the employees because the employees knows exactly what's going on a day-to-day. They're able to pinpoint every single problem you can't see because you're too busy on your high horse. They're able to solve these problems in real time before you can even see them. Before you even know they exist, they know it exists before you do. Most of these big agencies, that's what they do. And most of these big companies that are in financial trouble, you know what they do? They just look at numbers and metrics, and they look at numbers and they go, yeah, we're just going to tweak this. And yeah, they play with numbers all day. They play with numbers. They're highly disconnected from what's going on in the front line. You as an alpha wolf, you can't be that. Know your employees. Treat your employees like a wolf pack. Treat your employees like family. You have to. If you want your business to be successful, you need to protect your employees. Protect the people that you put in position and the people that's around you. If you want your business to be successful, you treat them like family. You know their problems, right? If Tyrone like to drink on Friday and he drive, you go, yo, Ty, what bar you gonna be at? Okay, I'm be over there. Now, obviously, Ty might have a little drink problem, may not, whatever the case is. You go over there, you say, yo, Ty, where you gonna be at? I'm be at one bar. All right, cool, I'm pull up. Okay. Most of the times, you probably ain't got nothing going on. And if you don't got nothing going on, you could go, yo, Ty, when you finish, I come pick you up. I come scoop you. You go scoop Ty. Or Mike, or whoever it is. Take care of your people around you. Take care of your employees. Then you can sit down with Ty because you built rapport. And you probably go out with Ty a couple times. You go, yo, Ty, you been coming a little late. You need to chill out with that, bro. And it's easier for you to do. Now, don't get it wrong. There's going to be a time where you got to get your alpha wolf mode every now and then. But you know what's going on in your business. You need to know everything that's going on. You need to be on top of your employees, right? So back to this, because I don't want to lose track, because this is a good story. So I was hired by a big Fortune 500 company, and I spoke directly to the CEO, right? And there's a reason why I just told you all this, right? Because this ties in. You know what he wanted to know, right? He looked at my background and he said, yo, listen, I got a large amount of employees and I really don't have time to sit down and speak with every single one of those. I don't. I have too much going on. However, I see that you worked in a very similar field, right? You worked in a very similar field and your experience is extensive. You went from frontline all the way up the ladder, all the way down. You've been in almost every part. Why is this business struggling? What are the issues? Now, obviously, I don't work for him, but for those 2 hours, I work for him, right? And as somebody who's in a working field and somebody who's worked before, right, understand something. my background is extensive, and I've seen the problems within the business. Being in different parts, different departments, whatever that may be. I might be an engineer one day. I might be an analyst the next day. The next day I might go from analyst, I might be in marketing. You never know. But I went in all different departments and I've seen certain things, right? So I'm communicating back with him back and forth, right? Right, I'm communicating back and forth. And that's how I learned, like, yo, these big companies, they hire consulting agencies to do this work, right? And it's crazy when all they have to do is just speak to the employees, communicate with your staff, communicate with your team. If you don't have a staff, communicate clearly with your team. Make sure your goals align, protect them, build them up. You get what I'm saying? These are things that I learned. And you know what's funny? At the end of that conversation, because first of all, I ain't trying to brag. I done saved himself a couple of $100,000s. Right? Save homeboy a couple $100,000s. I mean, I got paid. I ain't get paid no $100,000, but I was taken care of. I just say that. Your boy was taken care of. I was taken care of. I'll say that. I was taken care of handsomely, right? And at the end of that, you know what he said? He told me, he said, you know what? I said I don't have time to speak to my employees, but after going through this, I realized that I need to make time. Because if this business is gonna strive, and if I'm gonna stay competitive, this is what he told me. If I'm gonna stay competitive, I need to have conversations with my employees, right? And this is where you get systems and operations and musters and all of these things, right? So when you go into these companies, okay, we have a morning muster. This is where it comes from. Somebody of intelligence said, yo, you need to muster up and you guys need to talk. You need to communicate, right? When the company is at scale and really huge, communication is an extreme problem. But when it's 5 people, 10 people, small business, people just collaborating, communication should not be an issue. Communication should not be an issue. If it's a small group, it should not be an issue. And even sometimes it is an issue, right? It's an issue usually because somebody's not listening carefully, somebody's not paying attention, right? These are the things that happen all the time. All the time. People don't use this. They don't use this. This is the first thing I told you. You got to use this. That's the only way this works. It doesn't work if you don't use this. Straight up. You're just wasting time. All right. I want to give a shout out. All right. I'm going to give a shout out because, actually, I know what I'm going to do. I want to give a shout out to Vandal, right? Because I just realized I had this on. This drip right here was from my home girl. Shout out to Vandal. Shout out to Vandal. I'm going to link her somewhere. Just keep up with it. I copped this from her. And it's funny. I copped this like a year ago. This ain't even new drip. This old drip. This like 2 years ago. I copped this from 2 years ago. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Vandal. And here's something I got to say to Vandal too. Listen, She-Wolf, get active. Get active. If I didn't activate you, you better activate yourself. Get active, you heard? Get active. Shout out to Vandal for the drip, you heard? Definitely flossing today when I was out, you know what I'm saying? Definitely flossing. Sometimes you look in the closet, you go, shh. You go, yo, what I got? Oh, give me that. Give me that right there. I'm rocking that. So shout out to Vandal. Keep up the good work. And I want to see you active. You know what I'm saying? Take this as a stab. You know what I'm saying? As a wolf, I just growled at you. You know what I'm saying? Remember, wolves, we non-verbal. 85% of communication is non-verbal. So I just growled, right? So if I growl at you, that means you need to get active. You heard? Get active, you heard? All right, cool. Did that shout out. Anybody else I got to shout out? Anything else I have left? So I'm gonna give y'all some sauce because some of y'all watch my pod and some of y'all don't. But if you watch my pod, I'm about to give you a little game. And I'm gonna give you some quick game on what I got going on. So you know I shoot every week. I make sure y'all have content every week. My goal is to make sure y'all have consistent content, which is what I've been doing, right? I've been struggling in one area, and that's only not editing, not content, but taking time to upload. So I'm talking to my wolves in the back, you know what I'm saying? They're gonna start handling my uploads and titles and all that. I'm just very good at editing, chopping it up. I could do titles. Excuse me. I could do all these things, but again, like I always tell you, I'm at the point where I'm growing. It's a slow grow, but I gotta grow, and I gotta use what I have around me. It takes time just to type up a caption. Even if you copy and paste it, it takes time. Because you know how you copy and paste it, right? If you know, you know. If you don't, it is what it is. Pack you up. So with that being said, thank you for coming. Thank you for tuning in. You know I don't like the long podcasts. I don't do that. Probably if I go on somebody else, I might do that, but I don't do the long podcasts. I can't do that. I got things going on. I just came from outside to come in here to talk to y'all about having an alpha mindset. Having an alpha mindset, you need to be exact with your time, right? So therefore, I give y'all a little bit so y'all come back to the wolf pack. Merch coming soon. I'm gonna figure something out. You know what I'm saying? Merch coming soon for those who very early on supporters. I have a special project drop. I'm gonna create merch specifically for my early supporters. So when I start reaching out, make sure you give me your sizes. Make sure I'm gonna tell you what it is, what the price is, right? And I'm not getting you no BS. I'm getting you good stuff. Something you could floss with when you go outside. Something that's fire. That's what I'm gonna be doing. Getting y'all the right drip. You know what I'm saying? So, with that being said, thank you for tuning into Dreamaker Podcast. Peace.